Hello people of the internet, it's Amanda. I'm back with a J-movie review, and this time the title is quite long, so bear with me. We're going to be talking about Konya, Sekaiからこの恋が消えても, or Even If This Love Disappears from the World Tonight, short version Sekakoi. Now for the intents and purposes of this video, I'm just going to be using Sekakoi because that entire title is just so long. This stars Fukumoto Riko as Hino Maori, Naniwa Danshi's Michieda Shunsuke or Michi as Kamiya Toru, and Furukawa Kotone as Wataye Izumi. Matsumoto Honoka and Hagiwara Masato also joins the supporting cast of this film. Now, I've seen Michi and Riko before in Kita Hatsukoi. I love their dynamic. I do feel like they're very cute, and I'm really happy that they ended up in another project together where they are the ones that are paired up. And this one, I've seen the trailer before. I was really interested in it because it's a proper romance drama storyline, which I'm always very much into. And yeah, I've seen the film and I do have some thoughts about it. Now, the movie starts with Hino waking up and seeing a note in her room saying that she's been in an accident a couple of years ago and that caused her to have anterograde amnesia. Now, this is a condition where the person only retains memories up until the point of the trauma or the accident that they've been involved in that caused them to lose their memories. And then they couldn't retain new memories or have new memories after that. So with Hino, every time she sleeps, memory resets and she forgets everything. So what she does is she keeps a record of the things that happened to her in a diary, and she reviews that every day because she goes on pretending that nothing is wrong with her. So no one else knows about her condition aside from her parents and her best friend Izumi. When after she reads her diary, she remembers something about a thing that happened the day before, and so she talks to her parents about it, and they consult a doctor, and they realize that maybe she's starting to recover finally after so many years of suffering from this particular condition. They decide to tweak notes in her room that kind of remind her how she does her routine day to day. And then while she's cleaning, she finds this notebook that had fallen from one of her shelves, and it looks like it's been there for a while because there's dust on the notebook. She opens it up, and when she talked to her best friend, she was asking about this guy that apparently she keeps on sketching on that particular notebook. But then her best friend dismisses her inquiries, saying that it's just some random guy. And then the scene cuts, and then we're brought into this instance where Hino was talking to the guy that was in the sketch, and we learn that he is Kamiya Toru, played by Michi, and he kind of confesses to her if they can go out, and then she suddenly just says yes. But then it's later revealed that he only did that as a dare so that the bullies who asked him to do so would stop treating his friend badly. So it's like a trade-off. But then Hino didn't mind that at all, and she said that we can just keep on going with this because the video of Toru confessing to her already went viral, and they didn't want to to cause any more issues about it, so they decided to just be in a fake relationship. So some of the conditions that they established for their fake relationship is that number one, they wouldn't talk in school. Number two, they would keep their social media messages or text messages, emails, line messages, whatever, just very, very short. And that third is that no falling in love. So the whole cliche fake relationship thing. You see that they kind of develop this really nice friendship. Izumi is obviously very protective of Hino, but then she just allows this thing to happen in between as a bystander as well. And so many things develop into the narrative. The usual, they fall in love and stuff like that, but then something happens, and that's part of the twist of the story. So yeah, now I wouldn't spoil that part of the movie, and just leave it at that. Premise definitely reminds me of 50 First Dates, 1 Week Friends, if you've seen those titles, and also I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, because of certain things that happen in the film, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Again, these types of narratives, we get it because it has that emotional grip immediately once you put these elements into the story. And I do feel like this film definitely performed this very, very effectively. The chemistry between Riko and Michi is really definitely there. So you kind of like root for this couple, even if you know that certain things are not going to turn out really good for either of them. Um, and I think since the POV of the film mostly is from Hino's perspective, it's her memories that are being revisited, but we also see different sides to the story, like for example, Toru's family and all these other things, and there's also Izumi's perspective when it comes to, but mostly it's about Hino's narrative and the way that she's looking back and revisiting her memories and all of these things. So it's quite understandable why the perspective is kind of like biased from what she's experiencing. And that's why some of the parts of it are quite spotty. Like there are some parts that I wish they could have fleshed out a little bit more. But again, since the focus is Hino and her experience, the focus is the romance aspect of how she's trying to navigate her condition and what she's feeling for Toru. But I do feel like for Toru, on the other hand, it focused too much on the dramatics that are going on with this family that it failed to kind of like clue the audience in on some of the things about himself as well. Because there are some things that are to happen to his character that I felt like would have made even more sense if it's been hinted here and there and not just, like sprinkled. And I feel like they did it because it adds to the shock factor, or it adds to like this climax to this film. But again, I wish that this is where Chekhov's gun comes in, where you put certain like elements of something there to clue the audience in and to build up certain things that happen in the film, so that it's just like, the twist is happening, but it doesn't feel like it's just suddenly there. Like the twist happens, but the audience has this epiphany that, okay, I've been clued in that this was going to happen. And I'm not saying that I was completely surprised about some of the twists that happen in this story, in this entire movie and stuff like that. I kind of like figured that out in like the first sequences of the film, given how the timelines were kind of like presented to the audience. It's just that I just wished, they focused on like other aspects of the narrative when it comes to Toru's character, and not just the dramatics in terms of his family and all of those things. Because I feel like some parts of it felt overly exhausted, and it didn't really help progress the narrative too much, so there's that. Now, as much as I understand that, again, to the core, this is a film about romance, about young love, about all of these things. I feel bad for the friendships in this film. Like, for example, the whole dare when it comes to, Toru, is because of his friend Shimokawa. And I obviously had to put his name on my notes because he left very little impressions in the film. Even when, like, I thought that he was gonna have something more in this story. And then there's also this part right here where I thought that Shimokawa was about to say some things about Riko and Izumi, but then it kind of like ends at that particular scene. And I wish they could have just added something, because it was posed that Toru was willing to embarrass himself for the sake of this friend, and he was also very considerate about his friend's feelings and all of these other things. But that side of that friendship wasn't fleshed out well enough, and I felt like it was just used as a plot device for Riko and for Hino and Toru to have this relationship in the first place. So yeah. Also Izumi. Izumi is one of the most interesting characters in this in the story, because initially she was just posed as this friend that Hino trusts so much, to the point that she's the only one who knows about Hino's condition outside of Hino's parents. She was very protective of Hino. She's always there and making herself available for Hino no matter what. When this entire relationship with Toru happened, she was also very clear as to how she felt about it. Like, she felt like she was taking the back seat and just watching them, and that she was rooting for them, but then at the same time she also felt like, you know, she was othered from that relationship and that friendship. But the entire time, you know, she was always there for them, and it's not just because of Hino anymore, but she started caring about Toru as well, and they had, you know, these common things that also made them friends. And at the end of it, given Hino's condition and then Toru, things that happened to Toru as well, it's like she took most of the burden in the narrative, but the moment of her suffering is kind of like watered down in a bit, because again, the focus of the film is the romance, and I do feel like the friendships in this film is definitely treated very, very badly. And I don't know, like, I feel like the part of Izumi's friendship with Hino was such a huge chunk of how this entire thing worked, and I do feel like they could have just given her character more justice as to how things turned out, because that moment of focusing on Izumi and everything that she went through because of the events that happened in the film as well wasn't given enough weight. And it makes me feel so bad, because I like this film in general. It's just that at the end of it, I'd have to say that Izumi is the best character there, because obviously, like, the center of it again is both Hino and Toru and their relationship, but Izumi and everything that happened to her, and she didn't. And I'm not saying that, you know, in friendships, because you do something for your friends because you love them, you have to be rewarded for it. But I feel like it's just treated so badly, to the point that I wanted something to happen to her as well, in a good way, because she just took the most hit in this film. I mean, with Hino and Toru, heartbreaking. Obviously, like, this was posed as a drama without its happy ending, and I kind of like get that. But Izumi, justice for Izumi. Overall, I do feel like this is a really, really good film. I think the chemistry between the first three characters, the main three characters, including Izumi as well, you know, really worked well in terms of the storytelling of this movie. And yeah, and I do recommend it despite my grievances. I do feel like it's definitely a good watch. I mean, it's not something new. There are a lot of cliche elements to it. Like, and as I mentioned, this like amnesia, sick hero, heroine, and also like a fake dating, all of those elements, stuff like that. It's there, but it also adds its own freshness to it, and mostly because, again, of the chemistry of Michi and Riko, and that's the reason why I think this film worked. So yeah, I do recommend it. With that said, so as usual, let's talk it out in the comments below. Have you seen this film? What are your thoughts? All of those things, let's talk it out in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon in a new one. Bye!